Okay, today we're going to be having a look at the causes of infectious diseases, and we're going to be covering the inquiry question, what is an infectious disease and how are they transmitted? So firstly, an infectious disease is going to be something that causes someone or something, essentially a living organism, to function differently from normal. So this may be a biochemical difference in their function, or it might be a physiological difference. Okay, so infectious diseases can be transmitted from individual to individual. So going through this pandemic caused by coronavirus, you may already know of a virus as a potential infectious disease causative agent. So SARS-CoV-2 would be the virus, and that would cause COVID-19. Additionally, you may know of bacteria. So bacteria such as Salmonella is quite a common causative agent for an infectious disease. Additionally, there is protists. So protists are causative agents of disease. An example would be the malaria protist. And then we've got prions. So prions are a bit unique in that they are acellular. They are actually misfolded proteins. So an example of that would be the causative agent of mad cow disease. And finally, we've got fungi. So fungi are quite a common infection. However, they're not going to always cause a large amount of damage to the host tissue. Okay, so now that we've covered our infectious disease causative agents, next we'll be looking at who can get sick. So essentially anyone can get sick. It is more common if someone is immunocompromised. However, that's not by any means required for someone to get sick. So humans, animals, and even plants can get sick. So the first virus was actually discovered in a tobacco plant, and that's called the don't want to do that. Tobacco, so that's called the tobacco mosaic virus. All right, so there are three modes of transmission for a disease. This can either be due to direct contact, and this may be the exchange of bodily fluids through kissing, or it can be simply touching hands and other forms of skin-to-skin contact. Then we have indirect contact. So indirect contact can be due to, for example, sharing the same drink bottle. You're not physically touching skin to skin, but the skin's touching the surface, which then will touch another person's skin and now cause the transmission of the pathogen. So a pathogen is just going to be a disease-causing microbe. Okay, so additionally, we've got what's the impact of an infectious disease. So as you've probably seen with COVID, we've seen a huge degree of impact. So essentially, causes diseases are able to shut down countries, and they cost thousands of lives in the event of a pandemic. Okay, and the effect of the disease will also be determined by its mode of transmission. So the next type of transmission is going to be vector transmission. Okay, so vector transmission means that it's transmitted from one vector to another. So in the event of malaria, you have the protist, which is being transmitted by the mosquito. So the mosquito is the vector, and the human is the host, or the susceptible host if they haven't been infected yet. Okay, so whilst we've covered the effects of the causative agents and disease in humans, other ones is loss of food. So if an infectious disease takes out a crop of plants, so myrtle rust is quite common for C4 photosynthesizing plants. In other words, different sorts of grasses. So wheat is susceptible. That costs billions of dollars. And it also will cause people to starve. Okay, so finally, we're going to have a look at some of the virulence factors which will aid entry into the host. So, for example, the malaria parasite being able to survive within the mosquito is an example of a virulence factor. Additionally, so human poliovirus or HPV is actually going to be a non-enveloped virus, and that aids it in essentially staying on surfaces. So it'll make it so it can have a greater likelihood of infecting someone. So that's bad in the event of indirect contact. And another one would be direct contact. So essentially any pathogen that's able to breach the barriers to infection is going to be problematic for direct contact.